Glad to be back. Alright, so we're continuing. This is still the demo marathon for longest speech marathon by an individual by Agorom. It's a Guinness World Record attempt. So we're moving to the next one, which is give and it shall be given. So this speech, give and it shall be given, is alright. Just put that together. So this speech is based on give and it shall be given unto you. Now the term give and it shall be given unto you, it may actually be checked out. Yes, it may actually be some may be found in the Bible. But give and it shall be given to you is a natural term. I dare say it's a natural term. Because when you look at it really, the way the universe has been wired, the way the world has been designed, arranged, and then put together by our lover and our friend who is our creator. It's put in such a way that for everything you put into the world, you actually get back out of it. So whatever thing you give, you will receive. Whatever thing that happens in your that you take as an action, there's always something else that comes back at it. Right? So now the idea therefore is for every seed there is a harvest. Regardless of whether you like it or not, believe it or not, understand it or not, for every seed there is a what? There is a harvest. For every seed there is a harvest. Alright, so whether the sun shines, rain falls, right? For every seed there is a harvest. So you just need to zone in that, you just need to come into that zone where you understand that for every seed there is a harvest. And you actually treat every single aspect of your life in that direction as well, where you realize that you get out of life what you put into it. Yes, where you realize that all that you are now is all you've made yourself be all this while, right? All that you are now is all that you basically become, right? Because life in itself is like a case of and unreserved and life in itself is not actually unaccounted for, because everything about life is accounted for, whether you are there or not is accounted for, whether you understand it or not is accounted for. Everything about your life is accounted for, and in the end of the life you're actually going to account for it as well, right? So this is what I want to say to you today right now, is the fact that give and it shall be given unto you. Everything you put into life is what you get out of life, regardless of how you feel about it, how you think about it, right? So now watch this. When we say give and it shall be given unto you, it doesn't actually just talk about money, right? Give and it shall be given to you doesn't just talk about okay, let me say this. Now, I usually do enjoy having to have the privilege of working with teenagers and young adults. This is something I've been doing for 6 years. And whenever I do have an opportunity to speak to them, probably in a one-on-one session, or probably have another, get the privilege of holding the microphone to actually speak in a conference or in a workshop or in a seminar, there's this thing I always try to explain, and I try to push this out there because it's important that we learn this, and that's the fact that when someone does evil to you, please pay attention. When someone does evil to you, what they've done is not an evil to you particularly, but it's an evil to the world. When someone does bad to you, acts in a certain way, treats you badly, treats you unfairly, right, seeks your hurt, right, does something that is not supposed to be the way, not supposed to be so, the person doesn't necessarily have done you good, but a bad thing directly. The person has done you bad, yes, but they have done something bad directly to the universe. You understand? So they've not hurt you, they've actually hurt the universe. And now, for everything you do, there's always a what? A response. So the universe has been designed and built in such a way that it will respond to the evil that they've done without your effort, without your authority, or without your consent. So when people say, "Oh, he did this to me, I'm going to do back to him. What you're actually doing is you're making yourself the source of the response of the pain which the person caused you, which is not good. Because by making yourself the one that returns that pain to that individual, you have also sowed your own bad seed into the world. And what that means is you're also going to get your own harvest of bad. So the idea therefore is, how many of us remember the popular teaching by Jesus Christ where he said, if they slap you here, turn to the other side. That was on the base on which that was taught. Right? That was on the base on which that was taught. Was the fact that if someone hits you, for example, that was actually an instance. Someone hits you, for example, do not hit back. All you have to do is turn to the other side to get more hits. Now, when he said that with the goal of letting us know that our lives are sacrificial. That was the goal. But beyond that is the fact that when that evil is done, if you make yourself the source to send that evil back to the person as a response, you've actually sold your own evil to the world, and you're also going to get that evil back. So instead of spending a lot of time trying to plot, plan, and arrange how you're actually going to pay evil for evil, you spend that time actually seeing how you can move your life forward progressively. Because if you look at it in clear terms and categorically, you realize that you're supposed to actually be very sorry for the individual. Yes. When you have this understanding, I'm talking about the fact that when people hurt you, they are hurting themselves, or they are hurting the world, and the world will actually hurt them. Right? So in essence, whatever evil they do to you, they are done that evil to themselves. When you have that understanding, when people do things wrongly, when people act in certain way, when people make you feel uncomfortable, when people do things that are not nice to you, you actually greet them with a lot of pity instead of anger. Yes, because it's now a case of, if only you knew that this evil you've done me is going to come back to you multiplied, you will not have done it. So instead of you getting angry at someone who offends you, getting angry at someone who hurts you, getting angry at someone who has done something bad to you, you're actually just not getting angry at them now, but you're actually pitying them. So it's more like a pity when you look at them. So you're not getting angry that they said what they said, you're not getting angry that they did what they did, rather you are feeling pity for them, because you've come to have an understanding that whatever evil they've done, whatever evil they are doing, will actually come back to them without you trying. Without you trying to do anything, the evil will come back to them at a very good measure. Right? So understand that yourself, and also realize that you also too, whatever thing you do, both good and bad, will also come back to you in measured in a very good quantity, pressed and shaken together and running over, just as the other part of that scripture says. Now we're going to move to the next, and the next here is time and change. Now, time and change happen to every one of us, right? Time is a season, change is an instance, right? And with time comes change. With time comes what? Change. With time comes what? Change. Check if it's up to 5 minutes. With time, check it's up to 5 minutes. With time comes change. At every single point in time, there is going to be changes. At every single point in time, there is going to be. Okay. My speech is not supposed to be less than 5 minutes. Yeah, sure. I was checking how long I spoke down. So sure. 9 minutes. Okay, that's cool. So at every single point in time, there are going to be changes, right? So, and then the only issue with changes is it provokes us to leave what we've known, and actually forces us to embrace what now is. You understand? Change actually forces us to leave what we've already known, and now makes us to embrace what is now is. like what is now available, right? And because of that, a lot of people fight change because they don't want to actually let go of what is existing. A lot of people are comfortable with status quo. That's why growth is difficult in comfort zone. A lot of people are comfortable with status quo. They don't want to let go of what they've known as, right? They don't want to walk into what is now is the current reality. They actually want to maintain status quo and keep up tradition, right? And it is my definition of I actually think that tradition is simply peer pressure from dead people, right? Tradition is simply peer pressure from dead people. Now you just have a lot of people who are actually powerfully put together as what I would call in a given local environment, and they've come together and they put certain laws on certain things, and because you are, for instance, because you are in that environment, it is expected that you would what it is expected that you would most likely align with it. Now, whether you know how that law is formed or not, you just have to align with it because it's prevailing in your current environment. Now, time and change happen to every one of us at every single point in time, and it's our responsibility to discover the change before the change discovers us. Listen to this. One of my mentors, Olakule Shoria, said he disrupts himself every 90 days. Every 90 days, he's disrupting something. He's changing his website, he's changing his bio, he's writing a new information, he's changing something. That there's always something he's upsetting something. And now the reason why he's doing what he's doing, he says that in 90 days the world would have changed from the way it was 90 days ago. So the idea therefore is you either catch the change or the change will catch you. You either catch the change or the change will what? Will catch you. So basically that's the idea. Right? So the idea why he does what he does, so he can align with new trends, new situations, changes, and new seasons before they actually do happen. Right? So therefore I dare say to you that time and change will always happen. Time will happen, and in the space of time there will be changes. All you have to do is to accept that change and see how you can navigate that change in such a way that it makes your life better and it makes you stronger. Right? So that's it. That's time and that's change. Now let me explain something to you. Whenever changes occur, instead of fight change, ask yourself, how can you make good use of this change to your advantage? Instead of what? Fight change. Ask yourself, what benefits will this change or these changes that are occurring, what benefits will they come to me for? Alright? How will this benefit my life? How will this benefit my business? How will this benefit my work? That is basically how to reason when it comes to having change as a prevailing situation in your locale. Right? So check that out. And then note that every change is not actually to witch hunt you. Yes, every change is not actually about you being trying to be witch hunt. Please check the time. So what we have to do is to realize that no, not that one. Realize that everything about your life is actually in a box, right? And you owe yourself the responsibility of ensuring that you can actually step out of that box regardless of who is talking or who is not. Right? Every single time we have opportunities, and opportunities will come with different times. Right? And also another thing that accompanies times and changes is seasons. Yes. Another thing that accompanies time and change is seasons. At a different season, something will be necessary. At a different season, there's certain things you have to do. For instance, for those that are farmers, those who plant crops, at a particular season, that is when you're supposed to plant all that you need to plant. If you refuse to plant when you are supposed to plant, and then you give excuses, oh, my back is paining me, oh, the weather is cold, and then you cover blankets, you most likely beg during harvest time. Yes. If you do not plant during the season of planting, you beg during the harvest season. You beg those who are harvesting to please find you something. But you can actually be someone who has the capacity, who has the potential rather, and potential most especially, to actually be the one to give people stuff. But because you fail to do what you have to do at a particular season, you're now literally the one begging. So it's important to embrace seasons. You embrace different times as it comes. One very good example of seasons I like pushing out there for us to understand seasons clearly is about a young man who probably has, let me just push it out there to you. So if you're a young man out there, please listen carefully to what I want to say in the next few minutes. And probably you're not a young man you're watching, and you know any young man, listen carefully so you can as well illustrate to them what we're about to discuss in the next few minutes. Listen carefully. Now let's say if you're a young man watching this, and you actually do want to also share this video to him so he can actually watch it. Now if you're a young man who is listening to me right now, and you have this idea in your head, or maybe idea in your heart, that someday, somehow, somewhere, you're actually going to have a family, and you're in your 20s and you're not making moves yet, you're actually running late. And if you're 30s, you're already late. Say, but oh, Mr. Wisdom, age is this and that and that. I understand that. I've thought that a lot. But I've come to also realize that there are seasons for every stage. There is a stage that is for a particular season. There is a stage that is for another there's a stage for another season. If you work so much in this stage and you do not realize that the season has changed for you to change the stage, you're actually going to be shooting yourself in the foot. Because what happens is that you now become a misfit for that stage. Right? And guess what happens to misfits? They are ridiculed. A misfit will always be ridiculed every single day. And you get offended at the rest of the world and the rest of us that are making conscious, deliberate effort to move our life forward. That's the unfortunate thing. You start hating on people, start envying other people's progress, because you have failed to actually put in the work that you need to put at the particular season so you can get the harvest that you desire. So what is that different stage I'm talking about? Now, let's say for instance a young man is 35, right? Let's say for instance you're 35. And that's basically when you now say, okay, now let me take this family putting together stuff serious. Definitely, before you actually put a family together, you need to get a wife. So let's say, okay, the young man decides, okay, I'm 35 this year, and by God's grace, probably your birthday is in January, and you started the year with a new age, and you say, okay, this year I'm going to get married, and I'm going to actually get serious with all that stuff. Now, let me break it down for you. Listen, from the day you meet the woman you think you should be married, to the moment where you actually marry is 2 years. Give or take 2 years. For some people it's 1 year. For some people it's a year, 6 months. Some people sometimes it's 6 months, 9 months. But it's in 2 years most especially. Let me explain what I said in 2 years. You have to actually get to know each other first. Then you fall in love. Then you now do talking stage. Right? All of that. Then you now go and see mother, go and see father, you go and see pastor. And then for some churches, marriage class, you have to attend marriage class. Some marriage class is 3 months, some marriage class is 6 months, some marriage class is 4 months. For me, my marriage class is 6 months. Right? And there are plans to make it 9 months, full pregnancy. So the idea therefore is, from the moment at which after you're done with all that stuff, you actually now get married. So from the moment you meet the person to the moment you say I do, most likely it's give or take 2 years. Now watch this. From the moment you actually get married, if your wife doesn't get conception on wedding night, you actually have to start working towards it. That will take about a month or two if it doesn't happen on wedding night. Conception, I mean. Now watch this. If your wife by God's grace gains takes in conception at wedding night, between conception and delivery is 1 year. Yes, the whole period is 9 months, but let's just give or take say it's 9 months, is 1 year. So now the period from meeting to I do 2 years, conception to birth 1 year, that's 3 years, added to your 35, that's 38 years. You're already approaching your 40. So from the moment of birth to the moment of first year birthday, the child is now 1 year and you are what? 39. Do you get that? Now, some children go to school at 2, some children go to school at 3. This is based on the preference of parents. Right? Mind me that whenever I wake up in the night or in the morning, yes, not necessarily that. This one wakes me up more than that one. This one helps me sleep well. While this one wakes me up, like, go in the water and splash myself. And then see how to make my feet wet as well. Not necessarily dip my feet in water, but I must match water. And then when you want to wake me up with a little shock. Like, not wake up. Add a little drama to it. Just write all those things down. Set 3 things. Splash of water, my feet should get wet, and you wake me up with drama. So with that said, you've now added what? From I do to childbirth is what? 3 years. Our young man is now 38 years. Right? Our young man is now 38 years. Now from birth to the child being 10 years, the first 10 years of the child, most likely because of some children are very intelligent, and that's because you're a very intelligent person, your child is also intelligent. And then probably at age 10, they are done with primary school, right? And at that point, you are now 48, sir. They are getting ready to get into secondary school, and you're already 48. What do you think is happening? You are drawing closer and closer to retirement. Energy levels diminish with age. Just in case you did not know that, let me tell you. Energy levels diminishes with age. The older you get, the less energy you have to expend. The older you get, the less energy you have to put out there into work. So, as time goes on, what you should be focusing on is setting up systems that will not require you to work 100% around the clock and can still pay you, because you don't have the energy to keep going about like you had when you were 20, now that you are in your 50s. Just got to push that one out there. So our young man is now 48, his child is 10, and his child is heading into secondary school. That's like the main billing I've now started. And now the next 6 years of the child, 3 years in junior secondary, 3 years in senior secondary, for the next 6 years, this child will be coming to bill you. Aside fees, aside rent, aside feeding. And let's say for whatsoever reason, you decided to have more children. But we're not going to talk about them for now. We're going to be talking about the first one, just the first child. Then we'll talk about the last child. Whether the last child is the third child or the fourth child, when we get there, we'll get into that discussion. So now, this child is now 16 years, and you are now, add 6 to 14, 8 is 54. Add 6 to is 54. You're now 54 years old. You're already at retirement age at 54. You're already at retirement age. And it is at that age that the child is ready to now go into tertiary institution. Some children will spend a year or two at home before they actually go ahead to gain admission in tertiary institution. Let's say, okay, this child spent 1 year at home. 1 year no billing. Right? All you have to do was just feed this child in 1 year. Now you are now what? 55. This child now gets into a tertiary institution. And let's say because you love your child so much, your child is very smart, and he or she decides to study medicine. In some cases, that is a 7-year agenda. Some is 8, some is 9. Depends on what you are going for. Let's say your own is an 8-year-old agenda. Before they actually get certified, get a placement and all, it's 8 years in total. So now please let's add 8 to your 55 that you are now. That is you're already 63. You're already retired like this. So at 63, you have literally spent all of your earnings for the rest of your life on that child, and there is no retirement savings. So in your head, you're now thinking your child is your retirement benefit, and you now put pressure on this child who is still trying to find his or her feet on the ground, right? Because the child is most likely now in their 24, 25. By our calculation, that child is in 24, 25. And that child is trying to find his or her feet on the ground. And then you're making demands. Then you're blackmailing them. I spent my hard-earned money to train you in school. Yes. Yes. I spent my hard-earned money. You know how much I invested in your education, and you cannot take care of your father? There's no need for all of that. All you needed to have done was to plan in the right season and execute in the right season. Right? So this will take away the whole stress and tension in our society of parents depending on children. Right? And then if you read carefully, you will also discover that in the greatest book that has ever been written, which is the Holy Bible, right? There's a part of it that talks about that a good man will leave an inheritance for his children onto the 4th generation. Struggling to leave my eyes open. I'm not sleepy, but I'm struggling. I'm awake, wide awake. I'm trying to leave my eyes open. It's struggling. So, guys, now that is the point. That's the point I was trying to make. So now let's go back now to imagine that you now decided to have 3 children, and then you had the first child, and then 2 years later, because you want to do spacing, 2 years later you had the second one, and then 2 years later again you now had the third one. So that's 5 years later you had your last child. You understand now? 5 years later. So let's say your last child 5 years later, and 10, when the child is now 10, that's like 15 years later. And then you now add 15 to, how old were you when your wife, when you said I do again? You were 2 years for from knowing to I do, then 5 years later birth, then 10 years later. That's a total of 17 years. So we add 17 to your 35. That is what? 17 to your 35. That's 42. Wrong or right? Your 35, you add 2. That's 37. Then you now add 5. That's 42. Yeah, that's 42. Oh, that's 52. Now you are 52, and that is when that child has decided to now what? Go to tertiary institution. I'm talking about your last one now. You're already 52. So how then do you pay for the bills for tertiary institution? And now the thing is this: retirement benefits is not what you use to pay huge bills. It's not what you're supposed to use to pay rent, right? It's not what you're supposed to use to pay fees. Literally, your retirement benefit is purely just for feeding. That's the way it has been structured. It has been structured that between the moment in your 20s and in your 30s and in your 40s, you've been able to get a house of your own. That's the notion. And because you're working towards that, it becomes a lot more difficult for you to do other things that you want to do. Right? And it's already thought that your children may have graduated at that time in your 60s, so you're not paying heavy bills. All you have to do is all the retirement benefit is for is so you can just keep feeding. You can just keep feeding. That's basically what it is about. You're not supposed to start up a project, a building project at that age. You're not supposed to start paying tertiary institution bills and fees at that age, right? And then let's look at it. Let's be a little more practical. Look at how much children are paying in primary school. Look at how much they are paying in secondary school fees today. That's a very good school. It's already millions. Then imagine what will happen in the next, let's say you're 35 today. Imagine what will happen in the next 5, 10, 15 years to come. Fees will definitely go up. But the sooner you plan for this, the sooner you execute, the better your life will become. Right? So, we're going to move on to the next speech. And so what have I said in conclusion under the speech of time and change is the fact that times will bring about changes. So instead of you fighting the changes that come with the time, is you seeking to understand the change and align with it. See how that can actually be of benefit to you, the work that you do, the life that you live, and all that you are about. Right? See how to align yourself to these changes and not just complain about the prevailing change, right? And how you do not understand it and how it is actually stressing you out. And then I also said that at different seasons, which is the timeline, yes, at different seasons, certain things will be required. You'll be required to plant at a particular season. You'll be required to harvest at a particular season. Yes, harvesting at a particular season is actually as important as planting at a particular season. Because if it is time for harvest and you do not go ahead to harvest your crops, or I'm talking planting now, and you do not go to harvest your crops from the ground, they will be eaten up by insects. Yes, it's overdue. It can no longer stay there. So if it's staying there, it is already waste. So harvesting rather, is also as important as planting. If you pick the wrong season to go and harvest, you actually have no harvest because the harvest season has passed. Everything that is still in the ground is a waste. And because nature does not allow vacuum, before you know, natural elements will start taking up and eating up the whatever you're supposed to get as a harvest. You understand that? So every season is important. Time will keep moving. Time is static, right? You cannot have more time, right? You cannot have more time. That will take us to the next excuse me. That will take us to the very next speech, which is on time. I know you've heard a lot of people say things like time management skills, so you can manage time and all that stuff. I dare ask, How can you manage something that is static? How can you manage something that is not elastic? How can you manage something that is finite? Because the idea of management is management can increase the existence, or can increase or reduce something. Basically, that's the concept of management. You manage things so they increase or maintain, and then if you mismanage, you'll most likely reduce or no longer exist. That's the concept of management. So I dare now ask, how then can you manage something that you only have 24 hours every single day? Because even if you manage your time so well, in quotes, manage your time so well, you cannot manage your time to have 26. You cannot manage your time enough to now have 32 hours. Do you understand that? No matter how much you manage your time, in quotes, you cannot manage your time to have 30 hours. All you still got is 24. So both for the wise man and the foolish man, you got 24 hours. For the one who is interested in personal growth and the one that is not, you still got 24 hours. Everybody gets 24 hours every single other day. Right? Everyone gets a 24. What you do with your 24, right, is what will matter in your future. Right? So the idea therefore now is this. If from my explanation you cannot manage time, so what can you do? You can what? Prioritize your time. Let me explain that. Now, there's something called priority setting. Basically, that is the closest you can come towards the concept, which is actually not true, of time management. It's called prioritization. Like, you prioritizing. So, and one way to actually prioritize time so much is planning your activities of the previous day, your activities of the next day in the previous day. I need that water splash in my face. You do it, but you will not be seen. You just come and do it and shop me. Right? Just put water in your hand and use your hand to splash the water on you. So that's the closest you can actually get with that. Right? You can actually prioritize your time. That is by simply saying, that's like, let me give you like what is it called? I'll give you like an analogy about how you can go about that. Now, what you can do at first is list out all possible activities of the next day in the previous day. Right? That is you saying plenty arrangement. Wait, hold on. That is you saying that, go ahead. What do I want to do? It's okay. Thank you. That was enough. What do I want to do? You're supposed to be my face, not my head. Now, what do I want to do in the next day? Right? And then you make a list of all those possibilities that you want to do, and you what? Study them. Now you're supposed to look through that list of all the things that you intend to do, and you what? Prioritize. Now you look at which of all these things would I do that will make my day most productive. Which 1, 2, 3, 4 items would you do? Check the batch at once. That would make you, that will what? Prioritize your day. Which 1 or 2 things will make your day more productive? Which 1 or 2 or 3 things? And then you put a P just beside that particular thing that you think will make your day amazing. or is reducing. So which one, two, or three things would you need to do? And then you put a P on them. Now, the next part is delegation. Which two or three things can you delegate to someone else to do, to help you do, that will also help your day being productive? And then you put a D by those ones. Now, which one or two other things that if you have time, for instance, let's say you finish the supposed tasks you plan to do and you still have time to do, which other items do you think you can pick off your shelf and continue on? So when you put that, when you'll be able to clearly itemize all these three things, and then you're able to clearly articulate all these three things under your list. There's the third thing I want to suggest to you. Number one is to list the activities, proposed activities on the previous day, for the next day on the previous day. Number two is prioritize it. Number three, delegate. Number one, after making the list, you prioritize and then you delegate. Now another aspect is putting your time in blocks. That one works too. Where you say, okay, I got 24 hours, I'm going to split it in a box of 6 hours. So you have 6 hours, 6 hours, 6 hours, 6 hours. And then you designate how many hours you want to spend traveling from one place to another, how many hours you want to spend having to have the birthday, the event that is set to hold, right? How many hours will every of all these activities take? Probably you're going on a trip, probably attending an event, whether you are speaking at the event or for whatever reason you are doing whatever you are doing. So the question is, how many hours will each of these activities take? And go ahead. And it's okay. And then you put that in blocks. So what works for me is the blocks of 6, right? I wouldn't be teaching my own experiences, but I'll be teaching principles right now, so I'm not going into full details. For some people, the principle of putting your time in blocks, right, will work for you when you divide your day in 2. 12 hours for this, 12 hours for this. For some people, they do 9-3-9 or 9-6, whichever way you want to share your time along that period. But you should know you should always give time to rest, you always give time to work, right? Because those things are important. Now, when you do all of that, what you really do is, I just want to come closer so so you can see my face very well. So now, when you're able to articulate that clearly, what that does for you is that it actually helps you eliminate distractions, and it helps you eliminate things that you did not plan to put in your day. For example, if you did not plan your day before, like the night before, you did not put into perspective what you intend to do the next day, what would happen is probably you get a call from a friend that says, hey, I'm going to the mall, do you want to come along? And if you did not plan your day the day before, you most likely respond to that call because you don't want to offend that friend, and more importantly, because you don't have any other thing you are doing. You understand that? Now, when you put that in perspective, you also now realize that if there is no plan, you're actually not going to go anywhere. If there is no plan on where you want to go and how you want to get there, you literally not go anywhere. So therefore, when you've put your time, your day, you've planned your day in blocks of hours, you now know you're supposed to spend X number of hours on Y project. You now know that this is what you're supposed to do, and you actually get on doing it. And there are people I call accountability partners. These are people that are friends, relatives, colleagues, associates that are actually on the same growth process as you are, right? And what do they do for you? They now know what you do is you share with them what your plans are, and then you have them help you keep you on track, right? That's checking up on you to say, have you done X thing you say you are going to do in X hour? No, get to it now, right? So all that stuff is important because you cannot always get it done yourself. Hence the need for you to have people around you, right? Who can hold you accountable for getting what you need to get done. So the way life works, is you being able to clearly articulate that, align that, and then you can actually make your life beautiful. Now there's something I want to share with you. It's the concept of people power. People, people, people. People matter. People are important. People are valuable. People have power. Right? So you must learn critically how to deal with people. Yes. You must learn that critically how to deal with people. Because that is like a major success or failure factor. How you are able to manage people. It's a major success or failure factor. Your ability to speak to people, your ability to communicate your ideas to people, your ability to transcend your ideas in your head into the minds of others. That's right there is a lot of work. Especially in a situation where you are giving deadlines. It's a whole lot of work. So the idea therefore is people. People are important. For every vision to gain the light of day, you need people. For every vision to drive from the point of conception to the point of actualization, you need people. Right? You need what? People. People are an important aspect of every single area of your life. For us to be able to put this Guinness World Record attempt for longest speech marathon together, we need people. Right? We needed people at every single point, at every different department. Those who are checking on my health, those who are checking on content, those who are checking on welfare, basically those who are ensuring that things are working. Basically, you need people. And just in case you do not think you need people, right? Let me talk to you about the greatest man that walked the face of this earth. His name is Jesus. To fulfill the purpose why he was on earth, he needed people. As much as he needed 12 disciples then, he now needs more and more apostles today. Propagating the gospel in all nations and cities of the world. So in essence, we need people. Right? We need people. That was too much. We need people. Right? So at every single point in time, you're always missing my face. And then you pour it on my body, which is beautiful. So you need people at every single point in time to help you get. I don't need anything. Hold on. You turn it the way you saw it. You always need people, right, to get whatever thing you need to get done. I actually just needed someone to pour water on me so I will not sleep. Right? So you always need people at every single point in time. So the idea therefore is you cannot always achieve your great ideas, your great visions in life without people. If the greatest man that ever walked the face of the earth needed people, how dare you say you do not need people? And then if you look to your left and to your right, you find out that there are people there. All the greatest decisions that will be made of your life, about your life, and that has been made and that will be made by people. The contracts that you are bidding for will be approved by people. So you see how important people are. And learning how to relate with people, learning people management is an important aspect. Learning people management is a very important aspect of your life, right? And it's important to align with that as well, right? So we're going to go on a break at around 7, and we're going to come back, and when we come back, we're going to delve right straight into the 10 commandments of human relation. What are the 10 commandments that you need to align with to ensure that you have great relationship with people, great relation with people, no matter who they are? Whether it's a boss, whether it's a staff, whether it's a colleague, whether it's a subordinate, whether it's a colleague in school or at work, a neighbor, just anyone at all that is a person around you. Probably it's an associate. So there are rules on how you can relate to people. People are important. People play very important roles in our lives. Excuse me. I'm going to expand that a little bit to you. Now think of the greatest joy you have ever felt in your life. Think of the greatest joy that you have ever experienced in your life. That was propagated by someone. Maybe not people in this case, but by a person. The greatest experiences of your life has given to you by a person or people. And the greatest misery of your life was delivered to you by a person. Did you get that? Your greatest joy, ecstaticness, your greatest experience that you consider to be good, to be amazing, to be wonderful, was propagated by a person or people. Yes. And then your greatest pain, anger, regrets was all propagated by what? A person. So I have this saying that goes that if God wants to make your life better, He will send you a person. Right? If the devil wants to make your life worse, He will also send you a person. Think about it. All the trials that the apostles went through, as recorded in scriptures, were all done by people. Yes. How did Stephen die? He was stoned by people. That's it. For evil to occur in your life, someone has to be the carrier of the carrier of that evil. For good to happen in your life, someone has to also be the orchestrator of that good. Do you understand that? So all I need you to understand right now is to come to the point where you will now realize that people are an important aspect of my life. That's the same way you are part of the people or persons who are an important part of someone else's life. Did you get that? So therefore, value people, respect people, treat people nicely, treat people kindly, because you just don't know when you will need someone's help to actually light up your day or make your work a little bit more easier, better, faster, and most effective. Right? So people. And finally, before we go, is you. Focus on you. You are the most important aspect of your life's journey. People, persons, relations, families, spouse, child can leave you, but you cannot leave you. Anyone can leave you, but you cannot leave you. You're going to live with you for the rest of your life. So take a moment and focus on you. Focus on your health, focus on your wealth, focus on your peace, focus on your relationship, but above all, focus on you. Focus on you. You are the most important aspect of your assignment. You are not going to get another you. Every other person has been taken. Yes, you're not going to get another you. I am me, you are you. You cannot get me to become you. Do you understand that? So there's literally a limited supply of you. You are a limited edition. Like this, you are a limited edition. So instead of you spending time and energy, right, trying to copy people, that is what you do when you refuse to focus on you and build you. You most likely get to copy people. And when you copy people, you actually sometimes or most times miss their juniors, and then you copy their eccentricity. The genius is what attracted you, right? Their brilliance, their genius is what attracted you. But beyond that is the fact that because you what's the line I was supposed to say? Oh, damn it. Because you copied someone, you will actually most likely miss the genius that attracted you, and then you will most likely now copy their eccentricity. Now the genius is the amazing thing that you like about the person's life. The eccentricity is simply things that are completely unnecessary, that could actually even be harmful to you if you don't pay close attention. Right? That's literally how humans are. And you need to learn how to work with all of them in that direction. Do you understand? So what did I say? That the only cake she returned with was half, right? I just said nonsense. That's what happens when I see what I see. Close my eyes and I saw cake. That's why I said cake. Yes. That's hallucination. That's why you say the person is not crazy. The person is actually coming. The person is actually just saying what they're saying. And you are not seeing it. So that's why you think the person is crazy. The person is not crazy. You get the point. I just closed my eyes and I saw cake, and since I'm talking, I just said it. Did you hear me say cake? Cake came up with. Exactly. So that's like how this thing works out, right? So we're talking about you focusing on you, because you're the most important aspect of your assignment, right? That you never get, and you're a limited version, you're a limited edition of you. So you see now how you relate to people that hallucinate. So you do not treat them like they are mad. They are not. They are just living in a world that you can't see or imagine. If only you could live in their world, you can now understand why they are saying what they are saying. So people that are walking on the road and then they are counting, they are actually seeing. Their brain is working, but it's working in a way that ours is not working in. That's why we cannot understand them. There are different dimensions to your mind, to your brain. That's why they can sit in a place that is dirty and they are fine. Because the brain cannot process that place is unhealthy at that time. You are hearing? So that's basically why people do what they do. So I just got an episode right now. Doesn't mean I'm crazy. It's just a show that's literally how the human mind works, right? So guys, focus on you. You are the most important aspect of your assignment. No other person is as important as you are, right? To make all your dreams come true, you need you first. To make all your aspirations come true, you need you first. Yes, you can have people around you. Of course you can, you must, you should. 7:20, right? 7 what? When are you supposed to turn off? Okay. Yes, you're supposed to have people around you, right? But beyond that is you. Now check this out. Beyond having all the other team members who are doing all that they are doing to ensure that this goes on, I need me. Oh. I need me to be in the right mental state. I need me. I need me to be in the right health state so I can keep going. Right? I need me to keep going. So if I do not spend time and prioritize my well-being, right, regardless of all the logistics that we put together to ensure that this works out, and I do not spend time, energy, resources, and focus on trying to get me in good shape, what most likely will happen is all the logistics will be sorted out, everything that is needed for this demo to go on and for the main event to happen in August will be put in place. But the person who is going to do the longest speech marathon is not actually in good health or in good state to go ahead to do it. You get the problem now. So now basically what I'm saying in essence is this: prioritize personal development, prioritize personal health care, prioritize personal mental care. If you ever have any problem that affects your emotional state, your mental state, or your physical health state, ensure you look for help. There is no crime in looking for help. And help now has been democratized in such a way that you don't have to visit a particular you don't have to particularly visit an actual health center for you to get medical care. Medical care has been democratized in such a way that anyone and everyone can have medical care just right there in your house. There's this wonderful app that have been put together. I think there are a lot of other apps like that, but I'm just going to talk about the one that I've seen that works. It's an app developed by Civil Life Missions, right? And then the thing is My Doctor app or something like that. But this app is actually it actually helps you check, right, different things, and then it sends live results. Live You have like live chat with a doctor who is in the office, and then with certain equipment you are able to with certain equipment you are able to now run a test in your own home and send the results of your test via the app to the professional who is in his or her office or lab or whatever, and this person can actually send you live results based on the test you carried out with the equipment that you have. And then they can actually give you counsel, so you don't have to visit the hospital to take medical care. Just thought to mention that something like that does exist, right? And then they can actually give you, if in the case of let's say you actually need medication, you can actually be giving doctors prescription for medication via the app, and you can go and purchase the drugs that you need so you can come back to health. Isn't that amazing? That there is the blessing of the internet. So healthcare has been democratized. Personal development has also been democratized. There are 1,000,001 ebooks in the world. I have a few thousands. Yes, stored on my Google Drive. Right? So I have a few thousand books stored. 1,000 books, yes, ebooks. So the idea therefore is to embrace all this democratization of all the things that you need to develop yourself. Because personal development, personal health care, these are like two most important things. Because someone once said that the worth of a person is actually seen and heard when they open their mouth. You cannot think about what you do not know about. That's why you cannot say what you do not know about. Because you have to think it before you say it. And if your mind cannot process it, your mouth cannot say it. Let me say this to you. Now, do you know that there is a way that someone who doesn't know how to speak, for instance, English, right, can actually be the same as someone else who knows how to speak English? Let me explain. Let me explain what I mean. Like, let's say for instance, whatever language you speak, right, be your local language or whatever language you speak, there's a point where there's a possibility that someone who cannot speak that language, or for instance English language, can actually be the same, can appear to be the same in the eyes of everybody who is watching as the person who can not speak. Someone who cannot speak it can actually be the same in the eyes of everybody as the person who can speak it. Yes, it's possible. I will explain how possible it is. Now, the person who cannot speak English cannot actually speak English, right? Good. And it's paraded everywhere else. Be the guy. And it's paraded everywhere else to be the person who can not speak the English. Good. And now, at the same instance, if someone can speak English but refuses to speak English, in the eyes of everybody who is watching, both of them are the same. The one who cannot speak will not speak. The one who can speak, refuse to speak, is the same thing before every other person. The same way, for the person who cannot solve the problem, will be the same as the person who can solve the problem but refuse to solve the problem. Both of you are the same. But now, there's also a point where the person who can actually speak the English will be worse than the person who cannot. Now, in the eyes of every other person who is observing you, both of you are the same. In the eyes of the people who invested the resources, time and energy into you being able to learn to speak the English, you are worse. Because they will say this other person is unable to speak the English because they have not learned how to speak it. But you are completely inexcusable. Tell me what time is. You are completely inexcusable because you have spent time, energy, resources in learning how that will work, but yet you are unable to unable to deliver that which is needed of you to make that which is supposed to work, right? So in that vein, you are now looking worse in the eyes of the people who paid for you to know what you now know. You're now looking worse than the person who have not actually spent time learning it, right? Basically, that's the idea. So therefore, it's important that we now realize that our lives is in 3 blocks: your actions, your inactions, and your reactions. We're concluding. Your life is in what? 3 blocks: your actions, your inactions, and your reactions. Whatever thing you do, that is your actions. Whatever things that you do not do, those are your inactions. And whatever things you do because someone did something, those are your reactions. Would make up your life right now. What? So therefore, make a conscious, deliberate effort. I was literally having a conversation when I closed my eyes. Make a conscious, deliberate effort. I said what? Oh, there's no hear what person said. Make a conscious, deliberate effort to ensure that every action, every inaction, and every reaction you make is towards your growth, is towards your development, is towards advancing your life literally, because every other person, as I said, is taking. You are the only one that is available, and you're a limited version of yourself. So treat yourself with so much respect, treat yourself with so much dignity. Don't let anyone treat you as trash, because you are not. You are a wholesome being, right? And you've been created in the image and likeness of our lover and our friend. And all of the awesomeness that you carry is what the world is waiting to see, hear, and experience. So refuse to starve the world of that awesomeness that you carry. Step out of that zone that seems comfortable. Get busy, get working, get active, and you'll be glad you did. So far, we've spoken about the fact that whatever thing you give will be given back to you. Whatever thing you put out into the world will come back to you, most times in multiplied forms, right? And that you should focus on you. We also talk about times and seasons, what to do at the different times, right? Because times and seasons happen to everyone, right? So basically, that's the idea right there. That's it, people. So we'll be going off in the next few seconds, and we'll be back at exactly what time should we get back? At exactly 7 a.m. No? At exactly 8 a.m. we'll be back, and we'll be delving right into the 10 commandments to human relation, and then we'll be going into that speech. Then we'll go into subsequent other speeches in which we can use to actually make our lives better. So once again, my name is Wisdom Agorom, and this is the demo marathon for the Guinness World Record attempt for longest speech marathon by an individual. Right? So I'm glad you sat back, you listened for the past 1 hour, and we're going to be back when we get back. So sit back, relax, and we will be back. Peace. That's your card.